James from Team Rocket. The myth, the man, the legend. But he's not exactly the sharpest tool in the shed, is he?
It's a blizzard attack!
How do you know it's a blizzard attack?
Maybe because we're in a blizzard?
Oh, that makes sense.
And let's be honest, he has a tendency to say some pretty messed up things too.
Let's blow those whining women back to the Dark Ages right where they belong!
But there's a lot more to James than meets the eye, and his true story is quite a lot darker than you might first expect.
All right. It all happened when I was very young.
So we first learn about James's childhood way back in season 1, where Team Rocket stumbles upon a missing persons poster, and the kid in the photo looks very familiar.
This kid looks a lot like you.
He looks pathetic.
That's what she means, James.
They really didn't hold back in the early days, I swear. Anyway, so we learned that James was born in Kanto to these, let's just say, unfortunate rich people. Actually, you know what? I'm just gonna say it. These are the most evil parents in all of Pokemon. Hands down. And I've made a video before about another set of bad parents in Pokemon, and you can check that out here if you want, but let me tell you, Norman and Caroline can't hold a candle to the batshit craziness that is James's parents. Like, they actually need to be locked up. In fact, keep track of their treatment of James throughout this video, and let me know by the end if you agree with me. Alright, let's jump in. So before Team Rocket found the missing poster, Ash, Misty, and Brock actually found it first. And they're introduced to James's family butler, who informs them of a few very important things about James.
His parents no longer had the strength to go on.
Master James must marry his fiancée within 24 hours of their passing away.
Okay, so I know that's a lot already, but there's one more important thing. If James refuses to get married, he'll lose his inheritance, and this massive house that should be his will be donated to charity. Yeah, so these guys are literally blackmailing their son into a marriage. And maybe that's not a crime, I'm not sure, I'm not a lawyer, but they're already showing themselves to be terrible people, aren't they? Are you keeping track? Anyway, so Team Rocket hears about James's inheritance, and Jessie and Meowth decide they want to get their hands on it. But James, he's a little reluctant. So what do you think Jessie and Meowth do? Remember, they still want the money. Well, they decide to force James to get married, whether he likes it or not, just so that they can all be rich. Okay, let's back up for a second. I mean, I respect the hustle, guys, but forced marriage? Isn't that on par with human trafficking? And isn't James supposed to be your best friend?
Do I have a duty to be manipulated?
This is really messed up, even for you guys. But we haven't even gotten to the worst part yet.
Prepare for trouble!
And make it double!
So yeah, I'm sure you guys guessed it, but James's parents are actually alive. They faked their own deaths, which I believe is a crime too, but let's just set that aside for 1 second. To have the gall to spring out of a coffin and then recite the Team Rocket motto to James's face?
The audacity of these guys, I swear. Like, I know copyright infringement isn't the worst thing they've done, but come on, man.
I mean, you gotta remember, they got Al Capone on tax evasion, so it's good to keep track. Just saying. But I'm getting distracted. Let me tell you about the actual worst part. The girl James is supposed to marry. Meet Jessiebell. Not only is her resemblance to Jessie incredibly confusing for poor James here.
Okay, so this is a random side note, but did you ever notice that when James screams, he sounds like a dying horse?
Sorry, that was really funny. Where were we? Oh yeah, Jessiebell. Let's just take a look at how she treats James.
Now you'll obey Jessiebell. Let the taming begin.
Okay, so I'm not the sort of person who judges people for what they're into. Like, you do you, girl, but James is clearly not into this. And also, this is less important, but you two haven't seen each other since you were children, and this is how you want to greet him, Jessiebell? I mean, at best, you're coming on a bit strong, and at worst...
She can violate my rights if...
Brock, this isn't about you! Anyway, you think this is bad? Just wait till you see what she does next. Jessiebell calls out her Vileplume and uses Stun Spore on James. And his parents are just watching, by the way. So we already had battery and assault, and I guess we're just adding poisoning to the list. Like, I know this is crazy enough already, but just take a look at how James reacts to this.
This is just like last time! Oh!
Last time? Didn't you last see each other when you guys were kids? What? Like, I'm not a psychiatrist or anything, but at this point, I feel like someone should have checked in on Jessiebell when she was younger, because she was clearly showing signs of some kind of personality disorder. It might be too late for her now though, she just needs to be locked up. But anyway, after she uses Stun Spore on everyone, Jessiebell manages to kick them all out of the house. So now the only ones left inside are James, James's parents, and Jessiebell. And with everyone else locked outside, they can't do anything to help, so they just listen in from a distance. And oh boy, did they get an earful. Okay. I remember watching this episode when I was a kid, and I remember laughing. But honestly, looking back on it as an adult, it hits completely differently now. I just can't help but sympathize with James here. He really went through the most messed up family crap, didn't he? But at least this time, before things can escalate any further, someone steps in to save him. Yeah, James's childhood pet Growly leaps out of his doghouse and carries James to safety. And I'm glad James is okay and all, but what the hell was going on in there? Oh, anyway, after hearing those cries for help, and later hearing James's story now that he finally has a minute to breathe, Jessie and Meowth finally grow a shed of decency and realize it's really messed up to try and force James to marry this monster. And I'm glad to see that they finally realize the error of their ways and all, but one question still stuck in my mind. How the hell did James even meet Jessiebell in the first place? And why are his parents just letting her treat their son like this? Well, it turns out that when James was just a little boy, he saw Jessiebell at one of those rich people Bridgerton parties that his parents were hosting. And it was just like a movie. Little James saw her from across the room and immediately fell for her, head over heels. And when his conniving little parents saw this, they decided to set these two up to be married, thinking to themselves,
We only want what's best for us. I mean best for you.
okay, so yeah, no surprise there. We already knew they were terrible people. But you would think that at the very least, after all the abuse they saw Jessiebell put poor James through today, that they would maybe have a change of heart. Because remember, they were in that house when everything went down. But even after everything, this is their reaction.
Jessiebell. Oh, what a refined daughter-in-law she'll be.
I swear, all of you need to be locked up. How have you gotten away with this for so long? And can we get some justice for James here? Like, seriously.
I just want to add, free James, man. He really went through the most, didn't he?
Some woman is always causing me trouble. It's a curse.
You know, I feel like James, he can say that, and it's completely valid. But anyway, just as James finishes his story, Suddenly,
My sweet James, you can't escape me.
Leave me alone!
bro, she doesn't stop. But at least James has backup this time. Even Ash ends up helping him chase Jessiebell away, and hopefully this time, it's for good. And after all the commotion settles, James returns to Team Rocket, just as penniless as before, but at least he's got his freedom and good friends at his side. But believe it or not, that's not the last we see of Jessiebell, because she strikes back 1 decade later. So fast forward to the Diamond and Pearl arc, Ash's Monferno accidentally digs up a treasure chest, and surprise surprise, this treasure chest belongs to James. He buried it here when he was a kid, but there's a catch. It has a password. And James doesn't remember what it is. You know how some websites have a security feature where if you fail your login attempt 3 times, it locks you out for a bit? Well, if you fail your password attempts on this treasure chest 3 times in a row, it tries to murder you. So be careful with your guesses, guys. So now, with James's treasure chest in hand, Ash, Dawn, and Brock stumble upon one of James's summer estates. And Dawn's all confused, like, what the hell are you talking about, James's summer estate? So Brock and Ash catch Dawn up about James's past, and meanwhile, James is in a predicament. He doesn't want to go to his summer estate because the second he shows his face there, he'll be forced to marry Jessiebell. But he also needs to get his treasure chest back because, James, what's in the treasure chest anyway?
It's something that mustn't be allowed to be shown in this world at all costs!
Alright, say no more. And lucky for James, Jessie and Meowth are actually on his side this time, and they surprisingly come up with a pretty good plan to get it back. So Jessie disguises herself as Jessiebell to get Sebastian to give her the treasure chest, and to be honest, this is pretty clever because Sebastian doesn't even need to know that James was here. It's foolproof, right? Well, James's Growlithe is excited to see him and reveals his identity in one fell swoop. And Sebastian, now realizing the truth, tries to restrain James because literally no one in his family circle is normal. Except these guys. They're precious. Anyway, so Sebastian tries to restrain him,
Interact, use string shot and tie up young Master James.
but James is too quick now. He's gotten so adept at dealing with this abuse that he maneuvers out of the way and manages to trap Sebastian in the basement. And now, with the moment of downtime, James finally reveals a shocking truth about what was in the treasure chest.
This is a tragic tale of woe is me, as you will see.
So it turns out that after James met Jessiebell, but before he realized she was crazy, he wrote her a love letter and stored it away in this treasure chest to keep it safe until he was ready to give it to her. And what did this letter say?
Jessiebell, darling dearest, won't you marry me? How embarrassing it would be if someone read this before she...
How embarrassing indeed. So you see why he needs his treasure chest back? After all we learned about Jessiebell today, imagine the nightmare fuel if she ever saw this letter. And what do you know? Luck is never on James's side either, as the estate's security alarm starts to go off. And what is it that tripped the sensors? None other than Jessiebell, who's flying in on her royal couch. So you remember Sebastian, who James trapped in the basement? Well, he's the one who sold him out. But luckily, there's a secret passageway he can use to escape. And so James runs quickly, and lagging behind are Ash, Dawn, and Brock. And James, obviously stressed, tells them they need to hurry up before Jessiebell catches up.
But I don't get what this has to do with us!
Yeah, I know.
I understand the sentiment, guys, but you were the ones who dug up the treasure chest in the first place. And you guys brought it to James's family estate. So...
Twerp, clean up this mess!
Anyway, they all escape and barricade the exit behind them, And Ash says he'll hold them off while James figures out his password. But come on, you and I both know what it's like trying to remember a childhood password. So after a few more failed attempts, James ends up in a full-on battle with his treasure chest. And after a bit of back and forth,
Impact surpassed level 333, so this treasure chest will now flee.
what?
The pointlessly amazing things rich people do with their money.
Honestly, facts. But just as James's secret is now safe, Jessiebell manages to break down the door and she finally confronts him. And now, backed into a corner, James decides there's only one way out of this.
Look, Twerp, I need you to use Thunderbolt on us.
So Ash agrees to James's request, but you never know where things are gonna end up when you blast off. And unfortunately this time, Meowth realizes they accidentally blasted off with Jessiebell.
Talk about a real shotgun wedding!
So even after blasting off, James literally has to run for his life. Can this guy ever catch a break?
To say this was a bizarre day is putting it mildly.
Honestly, fair. But it's not over for everyone. So while Ash, Dawn, and Brock continue on, James, well...
James is moving at a different pace.
You're not running properly!
And that, my friends, is a heartbreaking story of James from Team Rocket. And I don't know how he does it, but he manages to escape Jessiebell here, and we never see her or James's parents ever again. And I'm really hoping all of them got arrested, but who really knows at this point? In the end, I honestly just think it's really cool to see that despite everything James has been through, he still manages to be incredibly empathetic and kind when he meets new people in Pokemon. It would be interesting to see, though, how his life might have been different if he never felt this need to keep running. Anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed that video. If you want to see another one where James is, let's just say, a little less empathetic, you can click here to watch that. Either way, I hope you guys have a great rest of your day. Thanks for watching.